everyone. I am Friar Tuck, and this is Your Personality HQ. I might have to get that into my vocabulary. Okay, so I want to introduce myself. I decided I wanted to do a live today because I've got 50-mile-an-hour winds. I can't go outside and do much work until later in the day when it warms up. Because yeah, it may be 40 degrees outside right now, but with the 50-mile-an-hour winds, it's something around 25 degrees. So it's going to be kind of crazy, but we'll see. But anyways, let me introduce myself. I'm Friar Tuck. I have a main channel. I've been homeless for the last 2 years. I've been chronically homeless for the last 25 years. I'd reached a point where I thought I was able to get off of the streets and stay off of the streets to the point where I got comfortable. Had a business, lost my business, and that's what put me being homeless for the last 2 years while I rebuilt my life. For most people, they look at homelessness as something that happens to them because of whatever. For me, it was a choice, and I made that choice because I've been through it enough times to know that my best option was to stand on my own 2 feet. Sometimes being self-sufficient means that when you can't pay your bills, you got to be outside. Okay, and so if you're outside, you're outside. All right, so just to kind of give you a little bit of my mindset and my history. But over the last 25 years of dealing with chronic homelessness, most of it was in my 20s. I had, and then, yeah, until I hit about 41, is when I came back out on the street. So, I will say that homelessness is a young man's game. It is not meant for us older people. The older you are, the harder it gets. But the more refined you get as well. See, what you learn along the way, especially if you have to deal with this over and over and over again, is that there are certain things that are going on up here, okay? And within the homeless community, if you go in to get any type of psychiatric or mental health, because anything that goes on with your mind is mental health. It's just, are you going to use natural remedies, things that our ancestors used to use that were still humane and effective, or are we just going to treat it as a common chemical imbalance? See, when Freud first started out, because he's considered the father of modern day psychology, when Freud first started out, he believed in behavior therapy above everything else, and that was key, because if you look at how the home has been broken, which in a way that breaks an individual, and so therefore after that, then they have children, and then those children have to deal with a broken home and deal with the brokenness of their parents. Which is something that therefore plays into your behaviors, your personality, who you become as a. What's up, Tanya? It shows who you've actually become. Okay, or who you will become, because your parents, when you're a child, that is how you learn to be in the world. Your parents are supposed to teach you all that stuff, but if your parents learn bad habits, or are broken and have, through their own little self-defense mechanisms, like, okay, after a man's been through at least 2 marriages, he's like, man, I hate all women, and so therefore he passes that down to his child, and so therefore it plays down. And so this is something that the mental health industry is really not addressing. They're too busy addressing the chemical imbalance, and a lot of this could be traced back to the 80s when they started closing down the mental institutions. I have a friend who went to a mental institution several times because he's autistic, and it is, the stories he would tell and stuff like that were absolutely crazy. So it's just, what's up, Michael? Michael Myers lover, nice. But what I learned, and what everybody will eventually learn, is that homelessness is not an economics issue. There are those of us who had such poor upbringings because our home. What's up, Cherokee? There are those of us that, here, I'm gonna Um, there you go. Okay, there we go. All right, Cherokee, you're now a chair. Yeah, because you're very active. So if you see anybody that gets out of hand, you can silence them if you want. But what you learn is just like they're to be out here to be homeless. You had to have a very poor upbringing. I think that some of it is economics, as in you just didn't get prepared enough. But a large majority of what puts people homeless, or what has put people homeless traditionally, has to do with just the poor upbringing from their children, or from their parents. And so when you go in, and especially within the homeless, within the homeless community, when you go in, you and for those of you that are new here, just so you know, I have brain damage. It's self-inflicted, from something stupid that I did. And so sometimes I lose track of my thoughts. And so I hope that you guys will be patient with me, for those of you that are watching this in replay, if you do watch this in replay. But anyways, so yeah, I was originally talking about in the 80s, they shut down the mental asylums, okay? And so therefore mental health, or the homeless population blew up because of all of them. They had nowhere else to go, so they just went out and they became homeless. These are what I like to call the super crazies. You'll run across them a lot if you're in the homeless community. And those are people that are like, you wish you could have what they were having, because they're just like la 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 la. It's I guess you could call it the Thorazine shuffle or something. I don't know. But these people are so happy, but they're not there. They don't even, that's what the insane asylums are. So therefore, the mental health within the homeless community strictly focused on the chemical imbalance, because they were taking on all the patients that got let out. Well, what happens once you mitigate all that and you kind of got everything going? Because I mean, they had to get these people housed. Most of them are housed or in some sort of assisted living community. I've got to meet quite a few of them, because my mom was a CNA. So like in assisted living communities, that's where a lot of them got put, so that they could actually have their medicine managed without being in the insane asylum, because that was just getting so much bad juju. Okay. And so that is what has caused that. But now that we've moved past that, it's been what, 40 years since we've turned down, or the insane asylums, and decided to just put all those people out on the streets. Well, now it's time for modern medicine to revert back to its original its original roots, which is Freud, like I said, wanted to do behavior therapy, because he understood it was learned behaviors that was causing the issues. Most of the time when you walk into a clinic, especially if you're homeless, most of the time when you walk into a clinic, what ends up happening is they will tell you, is they just look in their little manual and figure out what symptoms you fit. But they don't realize that most of these symptoms that they have there are not necessarily mental health or chemical imbalance. Okay, it's mental health, but it's not a chemical imbalance. Let me give you a perfect example. One of the things that I picked up as a kid, as a self-defense mechanism, was becoming a people pleaser. It was something that I spent a lot of years trying to break in me. What's up, Tanya? It took a lot of years for me to break those habits, and I still work on them to this day, because it's something that's so ingrained in me from my childhood that to unwind some of this stuff, it takes long time. And so what does a people pleaser do? What is the negative effects? Well, nobody trusts them. Even though they may be honest and they may never lie or steal, but they're making commitments and they don't follow through, so people aren't going to trust them on that level. You create depression, you create anxiety, you create self-deprecation, because you start thinking that everybody hates you, or that the world is against you, and so therefore your mind just takes you down that rabbit hole. Next thing you know, you're in the suicide ward, because you got led down such a path of depression, from your own cause, because you didn't realize that your behavior is not a cohesive behavior within a functional society, because we can't have people pleasers. People pleasers, they try to please everyone and please no one, and so therefore all they do is create anger and resentment towards the individual. Okay, so these are the different, like, so you can go through all those different things and you can deal with them. Okay, but is it a chemical imbalance, or is it learned behaviors that are causing your problems because of the things that you went through as you were raised? Okay, and so this is the real problem within the whole mental health industry, within the homeless community, is that they're only addressing the chemical imbalance and they fail to dig deeper. It's only surface level. And why is that? Because I don't know, I guess in the 90s the pharmaceuticals started taking over. Everybody there's a pill associated with every single diagnosis. And the only way these clinics can get any type of funding is if they give you a diagnosis and then they put you on a medication regimen, because they get so many dollars from the government to do that. And so their incentive to dig deeper and to actually help you is not there, because their incentive is to at least be compensated for what it is that they're doing, instead of doing an actual service for their fellow man by being their brother's keeper. Okay? So I'm curious, what do you guys think about this? Because this is going to be the direction of the channel that I'm going to be taking. Is I'm going to be pushing it in this specific direction. Is that I want to be able to cover that. Now, because of all the work that I've done on myself, and I didn't get any help from the mental health industry. I had to do this on my own to put myself on this path, and I'm proud of myself where I've been, and where I've been, where I've come from, and what it is that I'm doing. I'm very, very proud of this. Okay, but I had to do the work myself, and I think that until the mental health industrial complex actually gets its act together, I think that a lot of people are going to be forced to do this on their own if they want to be able to have a peaceable, functioning life. Because it doesn't matter if you're homeless or not homeless, if you're a CEO, or if you are a manager at McDonald's. This applies to everybody. Okay, because the thing is if you don't have this going on up here, you're never going to have any success in life, because that's the difference between those that do and those that don't. Very few people had a proper upbringing to where they can actually function properly in society and benefit from all that society that has to offer. But all of us have some little quirks, some little things that we learned that are abrasive to the relationships that we have in our community, in our social safety net. And if we don't take the time to actually address those issues within ourselves, then all we're going to have is contention and turmoil, and nobody's really going to really nobody's really going to have much success in life. Okay, so anyways, guys, I wanted to share this with you. And for those of you that are over here from my other channel, I want to say thank you, especially you, Cherokee. All right. The vote, it came in, and it's 70% to say that I should be talking about homesteading, because that is the next step for a person that's homeless, is they need to build a home. And so many people, and I've even talked within the homeless entrepreneur community that I'm part of, and they are also saying, yeah, man, I don't want the city life. I just want a piece of land, and just to kind of, and so I guess for those that want to either move out of homelessness or get into a more simpler life, this is definitely something that we can do, and I can teach it in a very unique way. So I'm really proud of that. But anyways, guys, this is my first live stream. I'm gonna probably start doing at least a once a week live stream for you guys. For those of you that want to be able to interact with me, ask me questions and stuff like that. I usually come in with a topic, and then I leave it open after that so that we can have an open conversation. So, but for those of you that are here, I really, really appreciate you. Thank you for being here. It means a lot because in a world where you are the product, your attention is important, and I would like to garner your attention so that maybe we can do something productive in your life versus something that's just mind numbing and entertaining and just something that makes you feel good about yourself but doesn't really have any real impact in your life. Because I think that as social media goes along, as it grows, as it becomes a bigger part of our life, I think that that's what we'll be using it for. And I think that that's why YouTube will always remain the platform of choice because of its growth. It basically, I mean, people call it YouTube University for a reason. You can go learn just about anything on YouTube and stuff like that. And before I close out, I want to share with you my own personal story about what I'm doing right now, because I can't sit there and talk about this stuff if I'm not doing my own work. Because of my connection with Homeless Entrepreneur, he has a guy that it's not counseling. Okay, it's not counseling. It's behavior. I guess you could almost call it behavior therapy, but it's more focused on the mind and the way that you perceive and that you see things. And I've moved up into that level because I can, because I've done that work, and him and I, a lot of it's like, okay, I know where you're going, I know what you're doing, I see what's going on here, and he's giving me an outside perspective and giving me, food for thought, something to think about as I move along. And so, I mean, it is really intense. I suggest you do a lot of the work on yourself before you go do something like this. But once you reach a certain level, it is like you cannot just do it yourself. You need outside help. You need somebody who's knowledgeable in that. And so I've started doing that. And at first I wanted to be able to do like entry level counseling and create a program like that for the homeless. Or for those, oh, actually, no, just open it up to everybody, not just the homeless. If you're homeless, I would have offered the service to you for free, just because I know that it's going to make a bigger impact. But, anyways, that's what I was thinking about doing. But after going through a couple of sessions with this guy, I think that is probably something that is, I just don't have the emotional fortitude to be able to deal with that. Because I mean, you have to dissociate yourself from the situation in such a way that you don't get caught up emotionally in it. And luckily this guy's German, so it's in his culture. But anyways, what I will say is that it's having an impact. It's showing me why I'm having the financial struggles, and a lot of it has to do with some certain things. Like, so I found a $20 bill in the bush. My stepdad said, "Hey, yeah, let me borrow that $20 bill. I'll give it back to you next Tuesday." And then I come to him next Tuesday, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I ain't giving that back to you. I don't owe it to you. You owe that to me for taking care of you." And so, like that, and then just a lot of what I've seen people do that have a lot of money because, one side of my mom's side of the family was fairly wealthy until they squandered it all. But I got to see what happens in like, not necessarily high society, but upper middle class. And, when you see what money does to people, it kind of makes you push away from money. And so the part of the reason why I'm having the problems is because I got to see all the negative effects, but I never got to see any of the positive effects that having financial freedom actually had. So therefore, in time, I have an instance where I can gain or acquire a comfortable set of living. I'm putting my own subconscious mental block up because I don't want to be what I saw, because I saw it as a negative, as something that was bad. So anyways, this is just what I've learned in the last couple of sessions, and we're working on it. But I will tell you that what I would really like to do is, instead of offering it myself, I want to be able to work with mental health professionals. Okay, if you know any mental health professionals that like to think outside the box, I would love to be able to sit back and have, a little side conversation with you, because I think that you are the person that's properly equipped if you just understand how to dig deeper, and instead of just using the manual, seeing if it's behavior related before you go to a chemical imbalance. Okay, if we can get that happening, not only within the mental health complex, but especially within the homeless community, you could see a major change in homelessness, because you're going to come away with accountability, responsibility, ethics, drive. You're going to have your own vision in life, because once you come out of it, you start realizing that the world is your sandbox. And if you just get your thinking right, because your thinking creates your reality, you can create any situation you want. But the thing is you got to get over your own mental blocks and your own stumbling blocks before you can actually open that up and see the world as your sandbox. See, that's the way I've been living for probably the last 10 years at least. As I see the world as my personal sandbox. Okay, since 2013, the world has been my personal sandbox, and I've been trying, but again, a lot of what's going on up here is preventing me from creating the reality that I want. And that's really what we want as humans, is we want to be fulfilled, to have the reality that we want. Okay, so I'm gonna leave you with that. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next live stream.